Welcome to the Word of Immortal Stories channel. Please leave positive comments below the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. Chapter 11, The Slums. Lu Yuan had initially planned to buy armor too. But now, why did I think I could afford both a weapon and armor with only 4,000 credits? He had 300 left. Meaning his plans to move were on hold. Why did I let myself dream? Poverty sucks. Leaving the market. Lu Yuan didn't dare look back. He'd taken a cab there. But with only 300 credits remaining, he needed to save for food. So he walked home. Fortunately, after absorbing spiritual energy, his stamina and strength had improved considerably. Even though the slums were over 6 miles away, he could jog back in about half an hour. During the day, the slums appeared much more peaceful than at night. People hurried along, some looking pale and gaunt. Trash littered the streets, and children scavenged through it, picking out anything useful. Groups of thugs with multicolored hair loitered, hands shoved in their pockets, their gazes inscrutable. Lu Yuan lowered his head slightly as he returned to his rented room in the complex. The common area was quiet. 4 people shared the apartment, him, Li Qinghua, a middle-aged woman, and a couple. Everyone was usually out during the day, so they rarely saw each other. Li Qinghua worked nights and was probably asleep. Lu Yuan quietly closed his door and entered his room. He opened his laptop, logged on to the web, and began studying military-style hand-to-hand combat and sword techniques. The room was small, but since he was just starting, his movements weren't too expansive. Lu Yuan practiced until nightfall, his body drenched in sweat. He sat down on his bed to rest, the alloy sword in his hand. The sound of the apartment door opening reached him. Lu Yuan knew it was Li Qinghua leaving for work. He sighed. If she still had her former looks, how many men would be vying for her attention? Qinghua didn't elaborate. Survival in this world is already a Herculean task. After resting, Lu Yuan sat cross-legged and began absorbing spiritual energy. The practice brought a comforting warmth, chasing away his fatigue. He was surprised to discover that cultivating the spirit absorption technique was more effective when his body was tired. My physical state, mental state, and spiritual energy, though seemingly opposing forces, actually complement one another. The next morning, Lu Yuan went out to find a quiet place to practice his body refinement techniques. Li Qinghua emerged, holding fried buns. She smiled. Lu Yuan, I got some extra buns. Lu Yuan smiled as he accepted them. Thanks, Qinghua. She continued. Lu Yuan, are you practicing martial arts? How did you know? You were pretty loud yesterday. I could hear you from my room. Lu Yuan's eyes widened in surprise. He knew the soundproofing wasn't great, he often heard the couple next door. But he hadn't realized the sounds of his training carried as well. He nodded. Yeah. I'm planning to go to the origin ground. I need to train for self-defense. Oh. Li Qinghua nodded, her expression innocent and uncomprehending. I know a good place to practice. Lu Yuan looked at Li Qinghua, stunned. Really? Where? A surge of joy filled him. This is the treatment a protagonist deserves. Just as expected. I've been around here a while and know a guy with a martial arts gym who can give you some training. I'll take you there. Really? Will that interrupt your rest? You worked all night. Li Qinghua pulled a pack of cigarettes from her pocket. Lit 1. And said with a smirk. Taking you there won't take long. Chapter 12. Lu Yuan smiled and nodded. After breakfast, Li Qinghua led him off. They walked with their heads down, moving quickly, a habit of those living in the slums. Just as Li Qinghua had taught him. Life here was about seeing little, hearing little, and minding your own business. They crossed a few foul-smelling intersections and arrived at a large, dilapidated metal door. 4 characters. The Ming martial arts gym were displayed above, illuminated by a flickering neon sign. A few burly men sat out front smoking. Their eyes lit up when they saw Li Qinghua. And one with a scar over his right eye let out a wolf whistle. Lu Yuan frowned slightly. But Li Qinghua just flashed a seductive smile. The scarred man stood up. Back for more. Little lady. Li Qinghua chuckled. I'm here to see Ming. The mention of Ming silenced the men. The scarred man's smirk vanished. Lu Yuan looked at them curiously. Li Qinghua turned back to him. Come on. Lu Yuan followed her inside. The interior was a large open space filled with training equipment, metal posts, weights, a boxing ring. People were training, shouting. Some even practicing with knives. Lu Yuan saw a man with a cybernetic arm punch a metal post, denting it severely. I hadn't expected to find a place like this in the slums. Qinghua. Who's Ming? How do you know him? Li Qinghua's smile turned sly. Are you sure you want to know? Lu Yuan gave a nervous laugh. On second thought. Li Qinghua led him deeper into the gym. A nearly 7-foot-tall man in tight black clothing was pummeling a metal post. Each blow leaving a deep impression. Lu Yuan was stunned. That's solid metal. The man glanced at Lu Yuan before his eyes settled on Li Qinghua. What brings you here? Li Qinghua stepped closer, poking him in the chest. Missed you. He turned to Lu Yuan. Who's the kid? My little brother. I want him to train here. Learn to defend himself. Your little brother? Sure. He can train. No charge. The man was more agreeable than expected. Lu Yuan. This is the owner. Fan Lang Ming. You can call him Ming. Lu Yuan nodded and smiled. Thank you. Ming. Fan Lang Ming waved his hand dismissively. Look around. Qinghua. Come with me. He turned and walked into a side room. Li Qinghua gave Lu Yuan a strange look and a playful smile. Explore the place. I'll be right back. Lu Yuan hesitated. He nodded. A mix of emotions swirling within him. Am I still so young? Ready to witness things like this? Li Qinghua entered the room and locked the door. Contrary to Lu Yuan's expectations, Fan Langming drew the curtains closed. Fan Langming looked at Li Qinghua seriously. Master. Li Qinghua lit a cigarette, sat down on the brown sofa, and said casually, Yeah. Fan Langming glanced at Li Qinghua and cautiously asked, Master, who's the kid outside? Li Qinghua replied with an air of indifference. A kid I've taken under my wing. He just awakened. So I'm letting him train here before we enter the origin ground. You'll help me train him. Fan Langming nodded, thumping his chest. Piece of cake. Leave it to me. Be careful. Don't be too obvious. We don't want to give anything away. Understood. Master. Good. I'll be out in a bit. Li Qinghua nodded and pulled out her phone to play a game. Fan Langming hesitantly spoke. Master. Could you stay a little longer? Li Qinghua looked up at him and asked. Reason? Well, half a minute is a bit quick. It might raise eyebrows. Chapter 13. Li Qinghua narrowed her eyes. A bright smile spreading across her face. Fan Longming's face paled. He quickly added. No. I misspoke. Master. Everything is up to you. Li Qinghua's smile faded as she remembered something. Oh. There's a man outside with a scar over his right eye. I don't want to see him again. Understood. 5 minutes later. After finishing her game, Li Qinghua stood up and walked to the door. You don't need to see me out. Fan Langming stood at attention, breathing a sigh of relief. Yes. Master. Lu Yuan, who was training in the corner of the gym, saw Li Qinghua emerge and hurried over to ask. Qinghua. Are you alright? Li Qinghua gave him a mischievous smile. I'm fine. Ming and I go way back. Lu Yuan paused for a moment before saying. Thank you. Qinghua. For this. I just want my little brother Lu Yuan to become strong enough to get me out of this place. Li Qinghua patted Lu Yuan's shoulder. Smiling. Lu Yuan looked at her and nodded seriously. Don't worry. I will. Good. But we'll talk later. Ming has agreed to let you train here. Make sure to greet him when he comes out. Lu Yuan nodded in agreement. I'm heading back now. Train hard. Li Qinghua stifled a yawn. Bid Lu Yuan farewell. And left the Deming martial arts gym. Shortly after, Fan Langming appeared. With a satisfied smile. He glanced at Lu Yuan and said. You're Lu Yuan. Right? Qinghua told me you were here to train. Learning military fist and military saber. Lu Yuan nodded. Yes. That's right. Fan Langming observed him for a moment. Show me what you've learned. Lu Yuan took a deep breath and began to demonstrate the military fist. Although he had only been practicing for less than a day, the energy and power in his movements gradually drew Fan Longming's full attention. Lu Yuan's strength wasn't like someone who had just awakened, his fist carried real force. After he finished, Lu Yuan met Fan Longming's surprised gaze. What is it? Lu Yuan asked. Fan Longming's expression shifted, returning to normal, but with a strange undertone. Qinghua said you just awakened 2 days ago. Yes. Ming. Is there a problem? After a moment of contemplation, Fan Langming spoke. Punch me. Lu Yuan was taken aback. Ming. You want me to hit you? Yes. Go ahead. Fan Langming urged. Lu Yuan's lips twitched. Knowing he was no match, Lu Yuan still decided to comply. He clenched his fist, focusing his strength into a punch aimed at Fan Longming's chest. Noticing the incoming force, Fan Longming's pupils constricted slightly, and he easily blocked the blow with his large hand. It felt like punching steel, completely unyielding. While Lu Yuan was still pondering this, Fan Langming asked again. Are you really sure you just awakened recently? Lu Yuan hesitated. Being asked the same question twice made him think something was unusual. Just recently, he replied slowly. Fan Langming looked at Lu Yuan. Curiosity evident on his face. When you first channeled your qi, how long did it take you to sense and absorb the spiritual energy? Lu Yuan's heart skipped a beat. Now I understand, I'm too exceptional. I can't admit that I sensed spiritual energy without meditating, that would be too unbelievable. Chapter 14. After considering. Lu Yuan calmly replied. It took me almost half a day to absorb the spiritual energy. Hearing this, Fan Longming's eyes widened. Then he coughed lightly and smiled. Ahem. Lu Yuan. Was it? Qinghua entrusted you to me. Your talent is remarkable. I want to take you as my disciple. What do you think? Lu Yuan was slightly surprised. Is Ming very strong? Fan Langming started to say something but then remembered Li Qinhua's reminder and stopped. He said. Ahem. Although I just broke through to warrior rank 1. I'll be very strong in the future. Lu Yuan's thoughts raced. That's it? Just a level 1 warrior. Not much stronger than me. Oh well. I have unlimited potential. He kept his thoughts to himself. Forcing a smile. Ming. You're really impressive. But I haven't started college yet. We'll see about this later. Hearing this, Fan Langming frowned. Catching the underlying meaning in Lu Yuan's words. Remembering that Li Qinhua had brought the boy here. He held back. Offering a strained smile and a nod. All right. We'll see when you get to college. Lu Yuan looked at Fan Langming in surprise. He'd expected anger. Not this calm reaction. He seems like a decent guy. Still. I should stay low-key. At least until I'm sure of my safety. Fan Langming continued. You can't master martial arts by training alone. I'll arrange some sparring partners for you. He then called out to a muscular man practicing punches nearby. Little Tiger. The man turned. His honest face breaking into a simple grin as he jogged over. Ming. Yeah. You and this kid. Get on the platform and spar. Huh? With this kid? Little Tiger looked at Lu Yuan. Unable to contain his doubt. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold back and might accidentally kill him. Maybe someone else should spar with him. Lu Yuan frowned slightly at the comment but remained silent. Less talk. I told you to do it. So do it. Or I'll spar with you. Little Tiger quickly agreed. Okay. Okay. I'll spar with him right away. Fan Langming nodded in satisfaction. Follow me. He led them to a raised fighting platform. 2 burly men were currently sparring. Exchanging heavy blows. Their faces and bodies covered in bruises. A crowd below roared with excitement. Old cat. Jab. Right hook. Damn it. Wild boar. Put some muscle into it. Did you skip breakfast? Hit him. The crowd parted as Fan Langming approached. Their eyes curious. Especially focusing on the scholarly-looking Lu Yuan. Fan Langming slapped the platform. Making it shudder. Stop. His words carried weight here. The 2 fighters on the platform separated. Wiping their wounds. Panting heavily. Glaring at each other before turning to Fan Langming. Ming. Fan Langming waved his hand. A smirk playing on his lips. Get down. We're switching it up. Switching it up. Not just old cat and wild boar. But the entire crowd was stunned. Then. Someone shouted. Is Ming getting on the platform? Little Tiger as the punching bag? Awesome. Let's go. Ming is the best. Little Tiger chuckled sheepishly. Scratching his head. Hey guys. You're all gonna be disappointed. Ming isn't stepping up, it's me and this kid. Little Tiger pointed at Lu Yuan. Everyone looked at Lu Yuan. Instantly deflated. Him. He doesn't even have arms as big as mine. I'd have to pray he doesn't die after one punch. New face. Huh. He's so scrawny. Why doesn't he go work at the Golden Hui Club instead of coming here? Hey. Pretty boy. You gonna wet yourself up there? Ha ha ha. Everyone whistled and laughed. Staring at Lu Yuan. Fan Lang Ming. Arms crossed. Joined in the laughter. He taunted Lu Yuan. So. Kid. Are you in or out? Lu Yuan frowned at them. Silently rolling up his sleeves. Let's do it. Little Tiger grinned sheepishly. Scratching his head. If I beat you into the ground. I'm not paying your medical bills. Lu Yuan's lips twitched. You won't have to. Then get up here. Amidst the laughter. Lu Yuan and Little Tiger stepped into the ring. Facing each other. Little Tiger scratched his head and grinned. You go first. The spectators below yelled. Come on. Pretty boy. This is your only chance. Yeah. Little Tiger will take you down in one shot. Show some manly pride. Prove you're not a girl. Chapter 15. Standing on the platform. Lu Yuan smirked. Employing military combat techniques. He advanced. The power cultivated by his gene-forged body erupting. His speed was blinding as he closed in on Little Tiger. Lu Yuan spun. Delivering a powerful blow to Little Tiger's chest. The whoosh of the punch echoed. Little Tiger. Sensing the force. Lost his goofy grin. He raised both arms in a defensive block. Boom. The impact drove Little Tiger's arms back into his chest. Forcing him to stumble backward. Nearly falling off the ring. Pain contorted his face as he stared at Lu Yuan in shock. Speechless. The laughter died down. Everyone watched intently as Lu Yuan rotated his wrist. Then looked at Little Tiger clutching his chest. Their eyes wide with surprise. He's that strong. Seriously? He looks like a bookworm. But he packs a punch. That was impressive. Fan Lang Ming chuckled. Little Tiger. I forgot to mention. This kid's a gene warrior. If you don't want to get completely destroyed, you better show some real strength. Little Tiger was stunned. Practically in tears. A gene warrior? Ming. Why didn't you say so? The others were equally surprised. Looking at Lu Yuan with newfound respect. A gene warrior, no wonder. Makes sense he's that strong if he's a gene warrior. Gene warriors were rare. Especially in this impoverished area. Everyone stared at Lu Yuan with curiosity. Lu Yuan looked at Little Tiger rubbing his chest and said softly. Don't worry. Even if I knock you out. I'm not making you pay the medical bills. Little Tiger gave a wry smile. I underestimated you. You're not some superpowered gene warrior. Are you? Your strength isn't that much greater than mine. With that, he charged at Lu Yuan. I'll show you the difference skill makes. Fists. Feet. Elbows. Knees, every part of Little Tiger's body became a weapon. Assaulting Lu Yuan like a storm. Having only practiced military hand-to-hand combat for a single day. And with practically zero real combat experience. Lu Yuan retreated. Struggling to defend himself. Thanks to his cultivation. Lu Yuan's strength had increased significantly. Putting him on relatively equal footing with Little Tiger. He was also acutely aware of the openings in Little Tiger's attacks. Though hard-pressed, Lu Yuan held his ground. Occasionally landing a punch in return. The heavy thud of blows echoed. the intensity of the fight captivating the onlookers. As the fight wore on, Lu Yuan unexpectedly dodged Little Tiger's elbow thrust, retaliating with a knee to the ribs. Little Tiger staggered back in pain. The spectators' eyes widened in surprise. So, this guy can actually fight back. Yeah. His strength and speed aren't that different from Little Tiger's. But his technique and experience are lacking. He was getting dominated. But now he's counterattacking. This Gene warrior is incredible. Those who had previously called Lu Yuan weakling and bean sprout now changed their tune. Lu Yuan's performance was enough to earn the admiration of many. Fan Langming carefully observed Lu Yuan. When he saw the first counterattack, his jaw dropped. He muttered to himself. His learning and adaptation abilities are monstrous. Is this innate combat intuition? He's a freak. Where did Master Qinghua find this kid? He might be even better than the government's elite students. How can such a monster appear in the slums? This is insane. His eyes gleamed as he watched Lu Yuan move. I have to get him on our side. I need to report this to the master immediately. The fight continued, with Lu Yuan's counterattacks growing increasingly fierce. From being overwhelmed by Little Tiger's technique, Lu Yuan gradually mastered the military hand-to-hand combat, beginning to dodge and counter with greater efficiency. This was a significant improvement. After a period of intense fighting, both Lu Yuan and Little Tiger were exhausted. They gasped for breath, their movements growing less precise, their attacks weakening. Chapter 16. Seeing this, Fan Langming called out. All right. Break it up. Little Tiger stopped immediately. Lu Yuan, however, unable to stop his momentum, punched Little Tiger in the face. Little Tiger's face swelled red. He stared at Lu Yuan, exclaiming, "Didn't you hear him say stop?" Lu Yuan rubbed his own swollen cheek and winced. I couldn't stop in time. Little Tiger's eyes widened. He wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Fan Langming crossed his arms. Take a break. We'll continue later. Little Tiger blurted out. Ming. I have to spar with him again. Fan Langming raised an eyebrow. Is that a problem? Little Tiger looked at Lu Yuan, scratching his head. If we keep going, I'm afraid I'll get beaten up. Lu Yuan's performance had shattered Little Tiger's confidence. In his mind, Lu Yuan was a true monster. Lu Yuan chuckled. Don't worry. I'll pay your medical bills. No way. Little Tiger protested. Fan Langming patted Little Tiger's shoulder. Relax. I'll take care of that. Little Tiger looked up at Fan Langming. His face crumpled. Thanks. Ming. Lu Yuan and Little Tiger then took a break. Lu Yuan focused on circulating his spiritual energy, recovering from the strenuous exercise. He replayed the fight in his mind, identifying areas for improvement. Fan Langming's words rang true. Actual combat was far more effective than solo training. Soon, he would master the military body fist technique, and then the military body saber technique. After that, he could enter the origin ground, search for compatible genes, copy them, evolve, and embark on a new path. That afternoon, Lu Yuan and Little Tiger sparred again. The crowd was even larger this time. Everyone watched the sparring ring, buzzing with excitement. Seriously? That skinny kid can actually fight Little Tiger? Skinny kid? That's Brother Yuan. Brother Yuan's a Gene warrior. He's got a bright future. Right? Forget the future. Brother Yuan's already amazing. This morning, Little Tiger had the upper hand with his experience. But Brother Yuan started fighting back quickly. That learning ability is unmatched. He's a gene warrior. Alright. Brother Yuan is incredible. I wonder if I could become his disciple when he starts his adventures. Are you dreaming? He's a gene warrior. He'll be fighting beasts and elites from other races. He's not going to hang around with the likes of us. The crowd nodded in agreement. The match began. This time was different. Little Tiger could feel Lu Yuan's growing strength. Lu Yuan's weaknesses were disappearing. And the pressure on Little Tiger mounted. Sweat beaded on his forehead. In the morning, for every 4 attacks Little Tiger landed, Lu Yuan countered once. Gradually, it became 1 counter for every 3 attacks. Then 2. Finally, the audience realized Lu Yuan was exchanging blows with Little Tiger. Not just defending but attacking as well. Then, unbelievably, Lu Yuan began to dominate. A flurry of elbows and knees forced Little Tiger back, culminating in a punch to the gut. Little Tiger's face paled. And he collapsed to the ground. Groaning. Silence fell over the crowd. They stared at each other in disbelief. He won. Brother Yuan is amazing. He defeated Little Tiger in just 1 day. My brother Yuan. So strong. Chapter 17. The crowd roared. Little Tiger lay on the ground, listening to the cheers. His head filled with question marks. He looked at the surrounding crowd. His eyes hazy. He still didn't understand why his friends had turned their backs on him. They had trained together for so long. Why? Fan Langming crossed his arms, smiling at Lu Yuan. Not bad. Kid. Not bad at all. Little Tiger, still on the ground, suddenly felt like crying. He felt abandoned. Like a lost child. Lu Yuan smiled. You're too kind. Ming. I'm still pretty rough around the edges. Indeed. You'll need more training. Consider yourself decent when you can beat me. Fan Langming nodded in agreement. Lu Yuan had only been trying to be humble. But Commander Ming seemed to have taken it at face value. He actually thought he was pretty amazing. Mastering the military's hand-to-hand combat style to this level in a single day was incredible. Next up was the military saber technique. Commander Ming, seemingly reading Lu Yuan's thoughts, said, "It's getting late. That's enough for today. Come back tomorrow. And I'll teach you the sword." Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. "Will do. Thanks, Commander." After Lu Yuan left, Commander Ming slipped back to his office and made a call. In the small room next to Lu Yuan's, furnished with only a bed and a desk, Li Qinghua sat cross-legged, cultivating. Suddenly, she frowned. Her right hand flipped over. And a small, jet-black square landed in her palm. She pressed it. And the screen lit up, displaying a message from Commander Ming. Li Qinghua answered the call. Her voice cold. "You have 5 seconds to explain." On the other end, cold sweat trickled down Commander Ming's forehead. "Damn it. I forgot she hates being disturbed during cultivation." He blurted out. "Ma'am. It's about Lu Yuan." Lu Yuan. Li Qinghua raised an eyebrow. "What happened? What did I tell you?" No. Ma'am. He's fine. It's just, his talent, it's incredible. Truly incredible. Oh. Explain. Commander Ming gathered his thoughts. Didn't you say he just awakened the other day? He's already channeling spiritual energy to strengthen his gene chain. I was teaching him hand-to-hand today. And his strength rivals my own men. I suspect he's had prior training. He claimed it took him half a day to absorb the spiritual energy. Li Qinghua's eyes widened in surprise. Half a day? Are you certain? I don't think he's exaggerating. Ma'am. His strength is significantly above average. Li Qinghua frowned. Silent for a moment. I see. Why did you call? Well. Ma'am. Since you're clearly aware of the situation. I was hoping to recruit him for my squad. Denied. Li Qinghua curtly replied and hung up the phone. Flattered. But bewildered. Fei Langming stared at his phone after hearing the dial tone. His mind still processing. Back in her room. Li Qinghua tossed the communicator aside and reclined. Her figure revealing alluring curves. She narrowed her eyes at the ceiling. A smile playing on her lips. That kid, such talent. Half a day. He's almost caught up to me. Interesting. Am I really this lucky? To stumble upon such a pitiful kid with this kind of potential? Her eyes gleamed. Her thoughts unreadable. Lu Yuan returned to his quiet apartment. Seeing Li Qinghua's door closed. He figured she was already at work. Given the late hour. He wanted to thank her and decided he'd treat her to a meal once he had the money. Shaking his head. Lu Yuan went to his own room. After showering. His tired, muscular body revealed a tapestry of bruises. Souvenirs from his sparring session with Little Tiger. Touching a particularly sore spot on his stomach. He winced. Damn. He hits hard. Chapter 18. Despite his exhaustion. He sat cross-legged and began to cultivate his spirit energy. Suddenly. A strange noise drifted from the next room. Lu Yuan's face darkened. And he almost choked. Are those lovebirds already at it? Talk about insatiable. He muttered to himself. Closing his eyes and trying to focus on his cultivation. But the sounds only intensified. Finally. He snapped. Yelling. Pay your rent. The world went silent. Satisfied. Lu Yuan closed his eyes and resumed his practice. 3 days later. At the Deming Martial Arts Hall. A group of burly men formed a circle. Watching Lu Yuan spar with a bald man in protective gear wielding a wooden sword. The wooden blades clashed with heavy thuds. They moved with surprising agility. After a flurry of exchanges. Lu Yuan's wrist flicked. His wooden sword tracing an arc that struck his opponent's hilt. Disarming him. He followed up with a swift knee to the gut. Sending the man tumbling to the ground. Woo-hoo. Brother Yuan wins again. Ironhead used to be a mercenary. His swordsmanship is top-notch. But Brother Duyan took him down in just 2 days. He's our Brother Yuan. Amazing. Lu Yuan. His arms trembling from exertion. Looked down at Ironhead. After defeating Little Tiger. He'd sought out sparring partners to hone his sword skills. Eventually facing Ironhead. A seasoned mercenary and monster hunter. It had taken 2 days. But he'd finally mastered the military body-killing sword technique and defeated him. Ironhead wasn't a gene warrior. Just an ordinary man. Which made his combat skills all the more impressive. You alright? Lu Yuan asked. Ironhead clutched his stomach. Stood up. And shook his head with a grin. I've seen a lot of gene warriors. But none improve as fast as you. I reckon you'll be a big name someday. Lu Yuan smiled. I think so. Too. He thought to himself. After all, I have a cheat. My potential is limitless. He was confident in his future. At that moment, Fan Langming approached. Not bad. Significant improvement. With your current strength, your first trip to the origin grounds shouldn't be a problem. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. A grin spreading across his face. Thanks for your guidance, Ming. I wouldn't have progressed this quickly without your help. He was confident that with his current strength, he could attempt to enter the origin ground. The first time was crucial. He had to proceed cautiously and ideally gain something from the initial foray. Fan Langming nodded and said, "Follow me." Lu Yuan followed Fan Langming to his office. Fan Langming gestured towards the sofa. "Have a seat." Lu Yuan sat down. Fan Langming looked at him and said, "Entering the origin ground means obtaining your first superhuman gene. This will determine your future path. Are you familiar with the Gene Warrior classes?" Lu Yuan nodded. "I've read about them on combat forums. Guardians specialize in defense and protection. Strikers focus on strength and offense. And assassins are all about infiltration and assassination." Fan Langming nodded slowly. "So you're aware. After replicating a superhuman gene, your body will gradually adapt to it. While gene warriors can integrate multiple genes for versatility. Research shows that focusing on one path, stacking genes of the same type, yields optimal results. Have you decided on your path?" Fan Langming's explanation was basic gene warrior knowledge. Facts Lu Yuan already knew. However, these rules didn't fully apply to him because of his evolution cube. Each superhuman gene enhanced a specific aspect: monstrous strength, reinforced bones, increased agility, or explosive power. While other areas also improved, they couldn't surpass the gene's primary focus. Therefore, most gene warriors specialized in a specific gene line to maximize their power. Lu Yuan, however, could evolve all genes to their peak form. Even the secondary enhancements of a gene, when accumulated, would become terrifyingly potent. Ultimately, Lu Yuan could achieve complete, all-around development, unparalleled defense, unmatched strength, blinding speed, unwavering mental fortitude, and perfect elemental control. No weaknesses. An unattainable ideal. But that was for the future. For now, he needed to choose a path to present to the world. Chapter 19. He had considered becoming a striker. With the evolution cube, he could be anything. But the striker class seemed versatile and adaptable. "I think I'll go with striker," Lu Yuan decided. Hearing Lu Yuan's choice, Fan Langming seemed surprised. Then chuckled. "Striker. Huh. Good choice. I'm a striker. Too." Lu Yuan looked at him, thinking, this guy's barely a level 1 gene warrior with a single gene replicated. Calling himself a striker is a bit much. Lu Yuan continued to discuss gene warriors with Fan Langming until evening. He bid Fan Langming farewell and returned to his small room. Sitting on his bed, he looked out the window. Under the quiet night sky, the distant neon lights flickered, painting a picture of West Lee City's bustling life. Lu Yuan took a deep breath, releasing his tension, and closed his eyes. It was time to begin. His consciousness merged with the gene inscription, the golden veins upon it glowing faintly. Within Lu Yuan's mind, A white mist emanated, forming a luminous doorway beside the gene sequence. Although he'd never entered it, instinct told him this was the gateway to the origin ground. Lu Yuan pressed his lips together, pushing his consciousness closer to the luminous doorway. The next moment, his mind went dark. When he opened his eyes again, he was faced with a blazing red sun, scorching heat, and arid air enveloping his body. Lu Yuan looked around, finding himself in a large plaza surrounded by yellow earthen structures. The sky was hazy, filled with yellow sand. Surprise flickered in his eyes. This origin ground was truly miraculous, capable of transporting him to such a foreign place in the blink of an eye. He'd heard that any sentient race in the universe could enter the origin ground. That meant the origin ground connected the entire universe. No one knew exactly where the origin ground was located in the universe, or how it could link all sentient races. A cacophony of noise pulled Lu Yuan from his thoughts. Need one more protector-class warrior for the gold beetle nest. Spirits only. Elite elemental-class warriors with refined genes needed to lead a team against the desert scorpions in the Gobi. Any race except dogheads. New human recruits need a team. Any veterans want to lead? Lu Yuan listened to the market-like clamor, his expression a mixture of curiosity and bewilderment. Across the plaza, numerous beings gathered, shouting out recruitment calls. Lu Yuan recognized humans, but also many other races. There were tall, slender elves with pointed ears and handsome features, just like in Earth's myths. There were dog-headed people, their heads literally canine. Lu Yuan's eyes widened in surprise when he saw the cat people, complete with feline ears and tails swishing back and forth. A cat person come to repay a kindness? Who could resist those ears and that adorable tail? Lu Yuan chuckled inwardly. This world was truly wondrous. In the plaza, there were only 4 races: humans, elves, dog-headed people, and cat people. This city was originally built for these 4 races. The stifling heat, the yellow sand filling the plaza, the hazy air. One glance told Lu Yuan he was in the Gobi Desert. Of the 4 starting cities for humans on the planet Grand Beginning, only Sandrock City was located in the Gobi. Thinking of Sandrock City, Lu Yuan recalled the materials he'd reviewed earlier. Situated in the heart of the desert, surrounded by the yellow sands of the Gobi. The monsters here were primarily rock, poison, and wind types. Lost in thought about the surrounding environment and monsters, Lu Yuan suddenly felt a tap on his shoulder. Frowning slightly, he turned to look. A handsome elf, clad in yellow leather armor, stood there with a friendly smile. Hey there, fellow human. Traveling alone? Lu Yuan raised an eyebrow, responding with a question of his own. Can I help you with something? Haha. We're heading out to hunt sand scarabs. Care to join us? We split the profits based on contribution. As he spoke, the elf gestured behind him. A short distance away stood 3 other figures: a tall, thin elf, a dog-headed person, and another human. Lu Yuan glanced at him and shook his head. No thanks. He turned to leave, but the male elf blocked his path. Hey! Don't rush off. It's dangerous to venture out alone. It's safer to go together. Chapter 20. Lu Yuan looked at him and smiled. Who says I'm alone? My friend is waiting for me outside. Hearing this, the elf gave a forced laugh. Oh. You have a companion? All right then. I won't keep you. He stepped aside, and Lu Yuan walked past. The elf muttered under his breath. What a bust. 3 figures in the distance approached. The dog-headed one asked. Boss. How'd it go? He has a friend outside. Hearing this, all 3 figures expressed disappointment. Too bad. His reaction showed he was a newbie. But he already has someone guiding him. Change of plans. The elf sighed. Newbies are hard to fool these days. Maybe we should switch up our tactics. Changing them is tough. How about we meet up later and refine our scams? All right. If this doesn't pan out, we'll go hunt some beetles. Sounds good. Lu Yuan left the square and observed his surroundings. Sand-yellow dust covered the streets of Sandrock City. Golden stone buildings lined both sides. And giant stone figures moved along the roads. Lu Yuan had seen these in the articles he'd read earlier. Every city initially possesses integrated structures from the origin ground, maintaining basic operations. These stone giants are part of Sandrock City's infrastructure, responsible for preserving order and security. Fighting within the city is strictly prohibited. Sandrock City is vast. Due to time constraints, Lu Yuan ran the entire way, taking 2 hours before the city walls came into view. The walls, constructed of golden stone, stood approximately 100 feet high. Large, unidentified cannons and patrolling constructs were positioned along the ramparts. Reaching the city gate, Lu Yuan saw 2 guard constructs. But no one checked him. All Jin warriors were granted free access to Sandrock City. Upon exiting the gate, Lu Yuan was met by a desolate desert landscape. Strong winds howled, whipping up a blinding haze of yellow sand. Lu Yuan covered his nose, finding the air unpleasant. Each of humanity's 4 starting cities has its own harsh environment. Stormwind City, for example, is perpetually besieged by gales, threatening to sweep anyone off their feet. Sandrock City, on the other hand, suffers from severe air pollution, each breath filled with grit. It was hardly bearable. After getting his bearings, Lu Yuan headed towards the right side of Sandrock City, making his way to an area known as Greystone Forest. The primary monsters there were beetles. Weak apprentice-level creatures. Beetles rarely dropped gene souls. But their stone carapaces were a valuable material for forging gene equipment and could be sold for money. For Lu Yuan, this was a safe bet. Lacking an origin ground beast mount, Lu Yuan had no choice but to travel on foot. 2 hours later. 4 hours after entering the origin ground, a desert sparsely dotted with gray stone pillars finally appeared before Lu Yuan. This was Greystone Forest. The Gobi Desert stretched endlessly. Lu Yuan recalled reading posts where people, out of sheer boredom, had attempted to measure these areas. Greystone Forest reportedly had a radius of nearly 60 miles. A staggering size. Lu Yuan sighed, pulling out his water bottle and taking a long swig before downing a few energy bars. Jogging the whole way had left him parched. After refueling, he rested a while longer to recover before entering Greystone Forest. He hadn't been inside long when the sounds of a fight reached his ears. Looking over, he saw 2 cat-like humanoids, one wielding a longsword, the other a bow and arrow, attacking a beetle the size of a small dog. The bodies of 5 or 6 other beetles lay scattered on the ground. The archer was remarkably skilled. With each draw and release, the arrow would become a blur, piercing the beetle's eye. The creature died instantly. Lu Yuan couldn't help but be impressed. This area didn't have any valuable resources. So seasoned fighters wouldn't bother coming here. Those who did were mostly newly awakened gene warriors. Not yet strong enough to explore other areas. Even so, there were clear differences in strength. Lu Yuan felt that in a one-on-one fight, he wasn't sure he could beat that archer. He really was still a rookie. He needed to keep pushing himself, only then could he become a pillar of humanity. Lu Yuan gave himself a mental pep talk and quietly slipped away. This wasn't inside the city walls, fighting wasn't prohibited. Conflicts could break out not just between different races, but even among members of the same race. Dying here would be pointless. To be safe, Lu Yuan deliberately chose a path where he couldn't hear any fighting. After more than 20 minutes, the surroundings became quiet. Just then, Lu Yuan spotted a beetle beneath a stone pillar up ahead. Its large mandibles were gnawing at the stone. Crunch. Crunch. It seemed to be enjoying its meal. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up as he looked around. He'd stumbled upon a lone beetle. Perfect. Time to take it down. You are listening to a story on the Word of Immortal Stories channel. If you find it interesting, please support me by subscribing to the channel and leaving a positive comment. Thank you.